guys, I am so sorry that it has been so long since I made a video. It may be 2 weeks now, the longest in a while that I've gone. Obviously, everybody is so busy and crazy with holiday stuff, but then our family has been so sick with just like cold stuff. You can probably still hear it in my voice. That, like, to be honest, I couldn't really even make a video for a while because my voice was hurting so bad. Like, my throat was just so sore, and anyway, we just haven't been feeling great, but I'm feeling a little bit better right now, so I decided to try to squeeze in a video and just kind of do a little holiday ramble, talk about Christmas and kind of what we've been up to. I hope that all of you had a wonderful holiday. Whether you celebrate Christmas or New Year's or whatever, I hope you had a great time and that maybe you got to spend some time with family. I'm gonna chew bubble yum. This is a request. People have been asking me to chew this again. It's been a while since I have, so I picked some up. And I'm gonna try to chew a little bit of this and maybe blow some bubbles. I do love the taste of this gum. So a lot of people have asked for me to try to do lower lighting. And if I'm making these videos in the day, sometimes I'll turn all the lights off and just maybe have my blinds like partially open. But today is so stormy and overcast. So I went ahead and opened my window. I hope this is a good level of lighting. Also, just in some of the comments that I've seen the past few weeks, people have asked again if I actually chew gum like this, and the answer is no. I do not chew gum with my mouth open when I'm in real life. I may have mentioned this before, but that was actually a really big pet peeve for my mom growing up. So she really got on to us. If we chewed gum with our mouths open, she would make us spit it out. So to this day, I'm still very conscious of it when I'm around her, but even just in public, I don't want to annoy people. It's also just not the way that I would chew gum, just like smacking loudly, but I know that some people find it relaxing. And I've tried to do some videos with no gum chewing because I know that some people would prefer me not to chew gum at all. Those videos definitely don't get as many views, so I feel like not as many of my viewers appreciate that content, but I think that's because most of the people looking at my channel want to see gum chewing because that's what they like. So I don't know. When you request it though, I try to do it. So that's why, like, sometimes I do some without gum chewing because people have specific requests. I'm sorry if you can hear that thunder. I hope that's not bothering you. I personally find the sound of storms kind of relaxing, but I hope it's not bothering you. So, I was just going to talk a little bit about my experience over Christmas. Our plan was to be out of town for like 5 days because my family had rented an Airbnb so that we could all just be together. It was closer for some of my sisters, so we all met at this Airbnb, and my parents had gone ahead a few days early and had been staying in the Airbnb because they had their anniversary and they were just doing some fun things together. So they went ahead and spent a couple nights there without the rest of the family. So those first few days of the break, my husband and I and my son just kind of had some nuclear family time. We were coming down with this cold, so we were trying to just like mostly stay around and take care of that, hoping that it would go away before the holiday. That did not happen. But anyway, so then we all went on the 21st and met my family. Well, we had all of these plans made for the city that we were staying in for Christmas. I mentioned that we like to do experiences for our nieces instead of like material gifts. So we had booked these tickets for this like beautiful Christmas village with like cookies and hot cocoa with Mrs. Claus and like reading with the elves and a maze to find the reindeer and like all this cool stuff. We had been so excited about it for months. We had booked these tickets months ago. Well, as a lot of you probably know, because we had this massive cold front come through many states, and we knew the temperatures were about to drop really low. We were supposed to go Friday night to that Christmas village. Well, Thursday, we saw that they canceled it for Thursday because of the cold temperatures. And it was going to be almost just as bad Friday evening, so we were pretty sure they were going to cancel ours too. But we were kind of waiting to see what happened. Well, Thursday night, we're all hanging out before we go to bed. So at this point, we've only spent one night, everybody there together. It's starting to get cold outside. It's starting to snow. And right before we went to bed, we realized that the heat, we had the heat on, but the temperature was dropping in the house. This is at the Airbnb. So it still feels good in the house. We're not like super concerned, but we went ahead and let our host know what was going on. And she like gave us a few tips of some things to try and said she would be sending someone over the next day. Well, by the time we woke up, it was 50 degrees in the house. It was 0 degrees outside. It was not blowing heat at all. It was blowing cold air through the vents. Our host, of course, tons of people are dealing with this issue because there's been this flash freeze. She can't find anyone to come out to the house. She found someone initially, and they backed out. Oh, we were also supposed to volunteer Friday morning for this food thing where we were supposed to go pick up all this food and deliver it to this place and help hand it out to people. Well, they canceled that because people couldn't get out of their houses, and it was 0 degrees outside. So we were really bummed about that, but I mean, we also didn't feel comfortable leaving. The roads were bad. Only one of the cars we had 4-wheel drive. So the Christmas Village got canceled for that evening. So we're all sitting in the house, bundled up, trying to keep the babies warm. I mean, I had so many layers on my son. And all the cousins were like, put more clothes on, put more clothes on. Our Airbnb host was so nice, but like there was not a lot she could do. Her heat stopped working. She had somebody bring over to us 7 space heaters. And she told us she was going to bring some towers, because that can really heat a space pretty well. But when they showed up, they had 7 tiny little space heaters. Again, not her fault because all of the stores are, of course, out. Everybody's freaking out. So they had these tiny space heaters. And we were like, okay, well, we can't do this. Like, no one can make it to the house to try to fix whatever is broken. We've tried all the things that we can do. It's not working. These tiny space heaters are not going to heat this place enough for us to stay here in 0 degree weather. So we decided to go home, and it was a bummer because one of my sisters and her husband and kid were not able to come with us. So they had to spend Christmas on their own. It was just a totally different experience. We had all of like our Christmas plans canceled because of the weather. And I mean, it's not that big of a deal. It was just a bummer. Like, had all these things we were looking forward to, and we just weren't able to do hardly any of them because of the weather. Honestly, I mean, I know our city did so much for homeless people in that time because they knew how bad the weather was going to be, and they opened up hotels and churches and different places for them to stay, and I'm sure they did that in a lot of cities, but it just made me feel so heartbroken for people who don't have heat when the weather is like that outside. And I mean, it makes a huge difference, obviously, and it's not safe. You know, at the point that we were at, the Airbnb didn't get below 50 degrees because my sister and her husband lived near enough that they were able to go to their house. And they do have a tower space heater that they brought to put in the like common space, like the living area. And so that kind of kept us at that temperature, even though we didn't have any heat. They brought that one, and then they had a smaller one. So we just put both of those in that living area for that day, and just nobody went anywhere else besides that living area. Well, it was so cold. And we were like, my parents had paid so much for the place. And it was a bummer for them because they're like, we paid so much to be here, and like, we don't want to be miserable the rest of this trip because we were supposed to stay 3 more nights. And they were like, it was a lot of money to just be miserable. So it didn't work out. We did leave, but then we were back in the comfort of our home, which was nice in a way, especially because we both continued to get worse with our colds, my husband and I. Our colds were getting progressively worse. And so like the nights were really rough. And when you're all staying together and you're trying to be quiet for other people, and when you're miserable like that, like when you're just sick, you want to be in your own home. But our dog sitter messaged us. She'd been staying in our house. And she had been telling us that she was not like feeling well. And Friday morning, she messaged us and was like, I just went to the doctor and I have COVID. So that was a little stressful because, ultimately by midday we were telling her like, we're coming home. We don't need you for the rest of the time. But it's a little stressful to be like, somebody has been staying in my house that has COVID. So anyway, she like cleaned everything that she could, and she like put the sheets in the washer. But we got home and just immediately sanitized everything, like to an extreme. That's a little bit too much gum. So, it's stressful in the sense that like all of us had taken so much food and so much stuff that we had prepared ahead of time. And then for the most part, we all had to just pack all of that back up to take home. So it was pointless. But I'm glad that we had a few days together. It's better than nothing. It just wasn't, what we had originally planned, so it was a letdown. But then, once Christmas was over and everything, we had most of this past week to just kind of try to recuperate and get better and chill out. So I was very thankful for that. We got a lot of little projects done around the house. Cleaned out our garage. Just did some like handy things that needed to be done. And so it was really nice, to have that time. It's just been a bummer to be so sick during everything, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. I will say, I'm so thankful that we came back to a house that was like in good shape after the horrible winter storm, because we had friends and my husband has coworkers who they were out of town for the holiday. And when they got back home, pipes had burst, their house was flooded, ceilings had fallen through. I mean, so horrible. That's the real big kicker about that ice storm and everything falling when it did, is that so many people were out of town and couldn't necessarily take the precautions they would have if they were there. And obviously, when you're home, you find out that your pipes are frozen a lot sooner. You're able to cut off your water and see where it is and stuff like that before everything gets ruined. So I hope all of you were safe and stayed warm and had good times with your family. Hopefully I will be back on and more consistent now that I'm getting better and we're home. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your patience with me not posting any videos. I'm very sorry. And hopefully I will see you again very soon.